Since matcha is all the rage now, and as you know I love trends, today we're making a no-bake matcha cheesecake. Matcha has a very fresh flavor, which I've balanced inside, though you can't see it yet, with a very fresh apricot insert and a layer of slightly neutral crunchy biscuits. It's super easy to make and delicious. So today we're making a no-bake matcha cheesecake, and the result will be about 1.2 kilograms of cheesecake, around 12 small portions or 10 regular sized ones. Strangely enough, we're going to start with the apricot insert, which will go inside the cheesecake. I think apricot pairs really well with matcha, like the matcha apricot roll cake I made, link here or here. I place 133 grams of canned apricots or peaches and 7 grams of lemon juice in a tall glass and blend them into a puree. I poured that into a bowl where I had already mixed 7 grams of cornstarch and 13 grams of sugar. I whisked everything together, transferred it to a saucepan and boiled it over medium heat for 1 or 2 minutes after it started bubbling, just enough for it to thicken slightly. At the end, I added 70 grams of candied apricots, diced, and mixed everything really well. I transferred the mixture into a piping bag because it makes it easier for me later, but you can also keep it separate in a bowl, covered with plastic wrap, and refrigerate it while we work on the rest of the cheesecake. Now for the crust, I crushed 150 grams of simple vanilla biscuits, like Petit Beurre, using a food processor, but you can also use the rolling pin or whatever you have on hand. These neutral biscuits work great for this cheesecake. I added 75 grams of melted butter and mixed well to combine. I prepared a 20 centimeter mold set on a disc, and inside the ring I used an acetate strip, which helps me remove the cheesecake easy and gives it a nice clean edge. I poured the biscuit mix into the center and pressed it down using the same saucepan I melted the butter in. It has a large flat bottom, which works well for this. Press the crust down firmly, then place it into the fridge to form up while you make the cheesecake filling. Let's start the actual cheesecake. First, we hydrate the gelatin, since that takes a while. In a small saucepan, I put 10 grams of gelatin powder and 50 grams of cold water. I stirred them briefly and set the mixture aside for at least 10 minutes. Meanwhile, in a medium bowl, I combined 180 grams of yogurt. Use plain yogurt with 3.5% fat, not Greek yogurt which is too dense. 180 grams of mascarpone, 110 grams of soft cottage cheese, 110 grams of sugar and 4 grams of vanilla. I mixed with a whisk until smooth and the sugar is dissolved. Since that takes a while, especially if you're not using powdered sugar, let's go ahead and place the apricot insert on the biscuit base. I use the piping bag because it's easier to spread, but you can also use a spoon. Just make sure the insert doesn't reach the edge of the cheesecake. Leave about 2 centimeters all around. I melted the gelatin over a double boiler and moved quickly so it wouldn't set. The easiest way to add it to the cream is to mix a bit of cream into the gelatin first, then pour the gelatin into the rest of the cream and stir quickly to avoid lumps. If you do get gelatin lumps, stop, place the whole bowl over a double boiler and heat gently until the gelatin dissolves again. Then cool the mixture back down, but not until it gels, and only then fold in the whipped cream. If your mixture is smooth, congrats! You can fold the whipped cream in 2 stages, mixing gently to retain the air. We will use 150 grams of whipped cream. Once combined, pour about 470 grams of this cheesecake mixture over the biscuit base and apricot insert and smooth the top. While this first layer sets slightly in the fridge, we'll prepare the matcha layer. In a small bowl, I put 7 grams of matcha powder, adjust to taste, and gradually added the remaining cheesecake mixture, warmed slightly over double boiler to make it more fluid, stirring with a whisk until a thick paste is formed. I kept adding more cheesecake mix to dilute it and avoid matcha lumps. Finally, pour the matcha mixture over the cheesecake layer, but make sure the first layer is firm enough so they don't mix. Don't just pour it from high up, gently pour it onto a spatula held close to the surface so it spreads nicely. And that's it. The cheesecake needs to be refrigerated for a few hours to set completely and allow the flavors to melt. Then it's ready to serve. This is what it looks like at the end. For decoration, I just dusted some matcha powder on top, and that's it. Of course, you can let your imagination run wild. Decoration is a weak spot for me, but I promise I'm working on it. See you next time. Bye. For more recipes like this, don't forget to like, subscribe to my channel, and join me on Instagram for lots of useful tips.